Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale MCU figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at Doctor Strange himself, based off his appearance in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now I got mine from Pop Collectibles at a discount. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, I like the way it looks, but more importantly, I love the way it feels. It comes across really premium. The entire thing has got this soft touch rubberized finish, and it's metallic. Then for the cracked shards of the multiverse featuring different versions of Doctor Strange in them, they're high gloss, so they stand out against the rubberized satin background. We have an image of Benedict Cumberbatch himself front and center. I don't believe that's the actual figure, unfortunately. And down below, the movie logo. I think it's pretty clever that they've used Doctor Strange's own color scheme with the blue for the tunic, then the red on the front for the Cloak of Levitation. On the box itself, it's a nice callback to his outfit. And they've continued that soft touch rubberized finish, plus the metallic all over the place. The entire box just comes across so classy. I don't have to tell you, I can just show you. When I move the box around and the light just dances off the surface, then you have the warnings and legal information over the top on the back. It all just works for me. But that's not it for the box art. There is a little bit more to look at. Not here, granted. This is just an open window showcasing the figure inside. Around the back, though, we have 3 different versions of Doctor Strange, slowly getting darker and darker, as they get eviler, I suppose. Plus his name down below. I usually like to have a running theme or a question throughout each of my reviews. And for this one, it's is this the best Hot Toys Doctor Strange? First in-hand impressions, he feels relatively lightweight actually. But that's okay, weight isn't always an indicator of quality. This head sculpt though, I can already tell you, is very impressive. I can't wait to do some comparisons. What we are going to do now though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the lightbox and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Let me just say, this frame is completely full. Dude comes with a ton of accessories. The base is done in the Age of Ultron style, which I do find interesting. I personally would have preferred the hexagonal or rectangular base styles, just because they're a touch more modern. This one still works though, especially for wide stance poses, because it's a pretty wide display base. The top artwork is textured and grippy, whereas the spells in the middle are nice and shiny and metallic. When the light hits this thing, it looks awesome. We also have a Multiverse of Madness logo, and then for the nameplate, his name is done in the Multiverse of Madness font, which is different as compared to usual. Up top, a dynamic flight pole and spring-loaded waist clamp, plus a second dynamic flight pole. Yeah, this is not actually for Doctor Strange, it's for the Cloak of Levitation. Up top, you do have this translucent plastic piece with some magnets around the front. This is essentially a massive wired coat hanger. You'll see how this works a little bit later. There was literally no more room to have these head sculpts displayed along with the rest of the accessories. We do have 2 different options, one with the third eye and one without it. We will try out both of these on the body and discuss them in a lot more detail when we actually get the figure out here. Even though we've been getting the Tau mandalas ever since the first Hot Toys Doctor Strange, that does not take anything away from how good these look. We do get 3 different sizes for both sides. This one slides over his fingertips with the flame effects on the back, whereas these 2 go over his gauntlets. They are all cast in this smoky yellow translucent plastic, then they've come in with some darker orange shading, and after that they hit the runes with some lighter dry brushing, and these effects, they absolutely pop. I mean, come on, you can see that thing sitting there practically glowing. Now these are my favourite new accessories. These are the Viper effect pieces. Down below, where it twists around, this is where you slide his arm into by the way, it is nice and optically clear. Then, as we get closer to the head, the green starts to come in, and that gradient is really nice and clean. They've also added some darker orange licks of flame, so when you have this wrapped around him, it looks a little bit more visually interesting. The fins are also translucent, and there's a nick in the top of this one. His teeth are pretty sharp looking, and even the tongue is well sculpted, as small as it is. I can't get enough of these vipers, and I also am considering permanently displaying these on him. We'll see how that looks first, though, before I make any final decisions. I tried to look up what this thing is called, but I came up blank. I have no idea what this thing is. It's just a translucent magical effect. It's a whip or a string of some kind. He uses this all the time. Do have a couple of sections where there are holes through it, so you can maybe wedge his finger underneath there, and also some darker orange shading on the surface. This is more optically clear versus the smoky yellow plastic of the Tau mandalas. Hey, you all know I love my 1/6 scale printed books, and this one is great. You have this little clasp, though, that you have to be careful not to lose. Just set it off to the side for now, right over there. The book itself has this patina on the surface, making it look shiny and metallic and aged and worn. These little wings are great. Oh, and by the way, this is the Book of Vishanti. You can open it up, and the pages are weathered along the edges, and there is some printing on the inside. This sort of stuff, it just gets me every time. I'm pretty sure this is a reference to America Chavez, which is quite curious because Hot Toys never actually made her for some reason. I think they need to work on the naming of some of these magical relics. The green in the handcuffs is the Sands of Nisanti, whereas that is the Book of Vishanti. Close enough to be confusing. The handcuffs are held together with magnets. You can see those magnets, which I don't love. I wish they were concealed under plastic. Still, they work, especially if you have them closed. You'll never even see them. And there is some lighter silver dry brushing to make these look a touch more worn. You do get two different sling rings. Not sure if you can see that, but they are different. The one on the left is my favorite with the two circles up on top. And while you can have him wear them, I'm just going to have it stored on his belt most of the time. They are done in this copper color, also quite metallic, and they've hit it with a wash to bring out all of the sculpted detail. They're made of this rubbery plastic, so wedging this into his belt or onto his hands shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Proof is in the pudding, I guess. Trying to slide this onto his fingers on camera, quite fiddly, not my best idea. Having it now sitting there, yeah, it works. It slid right on there, no problem. After Doctor Strange lost the Time Stone to Thanos, I'm pretty sure the Eye of Agamotto is now rendered useless. I did see him using it for something in the Multiverse of Madness, I think to help break the lock on the seal for the pathway to the Book of Vishanti. I know the watch was a key part of it, but I think the Eye of Agamotto played a part as well. I could be misremembering that. The sculpt work is very sharp for something so tiny, and there are washes in that detail. They've hit the top part of the Eye of Agamotto's Sanctum Sanctorum window looking detail in silver. Then around the back, it is very smooth, and I could have sworn there was supposed to be some detail back there. The necklace portion is real fabric, whereas the gold pieces are actual metal. I just wish the eye was real metal. It would make it feel that little bit more special. One of my favorite parts about Doctor Strange figures is actually the hands, which is kind of crazy. There's some shading on the palms, and we have so much detail on the back of them. You can see the scarring from all of the surgeries after his accident. Then they've hit the nails with some high gloss to make them stand out against the matte skin texture. We get spell casting hands, we get gripping hands, open palm hands, and some closed fists already installed on him. What we are going to do now, though, is get Doctor Strange himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Whoa. Since when did Doctor Strange look this good in 1/6 scale? The other versions were fantastic, don't get me wrong. I love my solo movie version, and the Infinity War version, and the No Way Home one. But they pretty much just reused the same outfit, the same body, and shared the head sculpts between them. This one is properly new. It might be the same body, but the outfit certainly isn't, and it just looks glorious. The bright blue symbol, it pops. The Cloak of Levitation drapes much nicer than the previous ones. And then the head sculpts. Both head sculpts are strong, but my favorite has to be the one with the fringe coming down over his forehead. The likeness, even from a distance, is sharp as hell. It looks exactly like Benedict Cumberbatch, at least to me. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Doctor Strange's first head sculpt. We do have to try out the three-eyed head sculpt, and we will in just a second. This one is brilliant. I can see the likeness to Benedict from pretty much everywhere. The skin texture is flawless, there's that speckling on the surface, and it's been sculpted in. Then they've added this subtle wrinkling and a furrowed brow up top, helping sell the expression. My favourite detail, though, is the little strands of hair coming around the front. They only did that once before with the solo movie Doctor Strange and then technically also Iron Strange. But after that, they ditched the fringe and they just went with the slicked back hair, which is not my preferred look for Doctor Strange. This totally is. There's flow to the hair, there's also the white strands around the side, and so much texture. The detail on this head sculpt is next level. It is here too, but maybe to its detriment. I can't be the only one that's a little creeped out by this head sculpt. Having that eye just popping out of the forehead as bulbous as it is, with the eyelid over the top casting a shadow over the eyeball, and having it look like it's kinda sorta following you as you move the head sculpt around, that's just creepy, man. I don't think I can use this head sculpt in my display. Then again, maybe I can, because the more I look at it in proportion to the body, and it being an all-new sculpt, just like this one with the strands of hair around the front, but this one has the hair slicked back, I am starting to like it more and more. Still creeped out, but willing to work around that and maybe just get over it entirely. This is by far the best cloak of levitation we've gotten with a Hot Toys Doctor Strange so far. There are wires down the bottom and wires along the edges, plus the pleats are already stitched in, so it just flows perfectly. There is some screen printing on the surface, and some intersecting lines that do extend down from the actual padded shoulder pad. This blue panel is new, it's a little bit shiny, and the white stitching does almost blend in with the existing line work. It looks a little bit patchwork quilt-esque, but I think that's what they were going for. This is the panel that Christine stitched onto the Cloak of Levitation after it was damaged. Now it is held on with magnets around the front. They are kinda challenging to get to at first. You really have to bring it over the shoulders, and then when the magnets catch it, push it down and it'll sit in position. There are wires in the collar too, so you can shape it pretty much however you'd like. I'm sorry, I had to switch back to this stock head sculpt. That third eye was just throwing me off, plus I like this one more anyway. Now, the Eye of Agamotto is supposed to sit in between these two clasps, and with the cloak on, it does. But when you take the cloak off, as you can see, it springs up because there is no weight to this thing. If this was metal or it was magnetic, so it sat on the outfit perfectly, then maybe it would sit in place as it's supposed to. Right now, because it's neither of those things, it's very free floating and it kind of just does its own thing. The outfit is mostly fabric. There is some vinyl material and a little bit of screen printing for the chest symbol. Everything else is just lightweight fabric, and it is a dream to work with when it comes to posing. The only complaint I have is the collar underneath his tunic is always out of alignment. I've tried. I've pulled on the sleeve, I've tried to get in there and adjust it. It's just not wanting to listen to me. It wants to do its own thing and go off to that side for some unknown reason. The tunic over the top is quite robust, and there is a little bit of padding at the shoulders. His proportions do look a touch funky without the cloak on, but that's Benedict. Dude has some weird proportions, and he has a long neck. But if you want to adjust the outfit to try and accommodate for that, you totally can. The screen printing is very clean, there's this squiggly pattern all over it, and then the red outline just helps this symbol pop on the dark blue. This outfit is gorgeous. It's now my favorite Doctor Strange outfit in 1/6 scale. You'd never normally actually see any of this stuff because it's hidden under the cloak. Back here, we've got some screen printing with this pattern over the top, and also some different textured panels stitched into the tunic. It does extend down from one side as it swooshes round, Then up top, it goes across the other. This is very visually interesting. And it's a lot of work for the back of a figure that, like I said, you'd never normally actually see. For his belts, you have these tassels hanging down with some screen printing on them in red, contrasting against the brown. And this is where they've hidden all the Velcro and the press studs. That's what holds the belts together. So that around the front, it looks nice and clean. We have more tassels on the end of these brown straps, and yes, screen printing, some red stitching on this circular disc, and a couple of silver parts and pieces with washers in the crevices acting as a patina. This has some texture over the top of it. The belt does feel like a vinyl rather than a pleather, and yes, they are two different things. Vinyl is like a plasticky material, whereas pleather is a surface layer laminated onto fabric. This feels like vinyl. This little strap is meant to hold his sling ring, and this was a right pain in the ass to get in there. Just take your time, wedge it underneath, then rotate it up and in position. If you wanted to, you could foreseeably put his other sling ring on one of these little circular pieces at the bottom of his belt. His gauntlets are made of this rubbery plastic. They do look like the same material as the vinyl. They've got the same texture on the surface, and you've got some lighter dry brushing. Adding some blue and red in there, it just ties this entire look together. Even his lower half has a lot going on. The tunic panels overlapping each other with the screen printing in this really vibrant blue down the front and the red edging. Then this strap on one side but not the other, meaning it's asymmetrical. There is a lot to look at all the way around. His pants are a darker navy blue and they're quite baggy, which should be good for posing. Speaking of being good for posing, finally, split cut boots for Doctor Strange. It's only taken you how many years, Hot Toys? Since 2017, I think? Yeah, this is the first Doctor Strange with split cut boots, but I'm glad they're here. They look and work great. They've hidden the split in some of the wrinkling, and from certain angles, they do look pretty seamless. They're not perfect. Maybe some people would still prefer the single piece boots, but not me. I reckon these are a massive upgrade over the single piece ones. Got some gold, you also have some texture on the surface, and some lighter dry brushing on the edges to make them look more worn. Then they've added these tassels on the side. They are a little bit hard to work with. If you don't push them down, they do tend to spring out, looking a touch goofy. On the underside, you've got some sculpted tread. I think it's time to try out some of the accessories. His handcuffs are simple as they come. You pop off his hands, slide the handcuffs on, then peg the hands back in place. They are magnetic in the middle, so if you did want to have them split as though Baron Mordo has sliced through them like he was goated into doing in the movie, then you totally can do that. If only we actually had a Baron Mordo figure that we could pose up without Doctor Strange. I'm sure these things have much better names than just Vipers, but that's what the instructions call them, so that's what we'll go with. Having the translucent plastic part wrap around the forearm looks great. It's getting here that's a right challenge. They're quite tight on the gauntlet, and I am worried about scratching up the paint applications on them. Then trying to wedge the hand in around these flame effects, none of that was easy. Now that I have it on there though, this is dope. I am so tempted to display him with these Vipers. The only other issue is that they're very long, so unless you have a hell of a lot of depth in the display, chances are you're probably going to have them pointing down, which isn't quite as cool as having them pointing out, seeing these nasty, evil-looking Viper heads. I reckon it's time for some head swaps. So this is the stock body with the stock new Doctor Strange head sculpt on it. Okay, so the Infinity War Doctor Strange head sculpt is compatible with this body, but it is physically larger and the neck is longer plus wider, so trying to wedge it into this collar was a pain in the ass. I do not recommend this. Popping the Cloak of Levitation on helps balance out the proportions. Still, I don't think this head sculpt is anywhere near as good as the new one. For me, this one isn't staying on this body. This, on the other hand, is great. This is the new Doctor Strange head sculpt on the Infinity War body. Being smaller in scale, it just works here. It fits, it plugs right on in, and now I'm tempted to get multiple of these head sculpts and update my previous Doctor Strange figures. We went retro for this one. This is the first Doctor Strange head sculpt from the first Doctor Strange movie. I still like this head sculpt and it fits here in proportion as compared to the Infinity War one, which is physically larger than just everything, I guess. It's only that collar that's a challenge to work with. It's displayable if you wanted to do this. Yeah, totally, go for it. This head sculpt just works on all the Doctor Strange bodies, and it's an immediate upgrade. The outfit is starting to show signs of age. Being the OG Doctor Strange, everything's a little bit baggy, the tolerances aren't quite as good, and the collar is still a nightmare to work with, just like the new one. Some things change, I guess, and some things stay the same. Ooh, the third eye head sculpt is also compatible with both the Infinity War body and this body because they're essentially identical. It pops right on, and I think it fits in proportion. The neck does look a little bit long, but that's a problem this body has always had. If you can get the collar to sit up higher, then you can work with it. As it stands, still totally an option, and I might have just found a use for this third eye head sculpt, where originally I didn't really think I was going to use it. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange, and on the right, the solo movie version, who is ever so slightly taller. And I think that's because of number one, the non-split cut boots being a little bit chonkier, and number two, the neck connector length. Remember when we just did the head swaps and the old head sculpt didn't look perfect on the new body? I think that's what's throwing off the height here and giving the old one just a bit of a height boost. For our purposes, the No Way Home Doctor Strange and this Infinity War version are interchangeable. They use the same body, they have 99% the same outfit except for a couple of different color choices on the tunic, and they have the same head sculpt. Which means both of them are taller than the Multiverse one. That's down to, once again, two things. Number one, the boots are the same as the solo movie one, and the head sculpt is still physically larger in size. You'll already know that from the head swap segment. Which look do I prefer, though, out of these two? Considering we had a lot of time spent with this particular look on the right from the solo movie all the way through to No Way Home, versus the Multiverse one that we only saw at the end of the solo movie, and again in Multiverse, I still gotta go with the Multiverse one. It's just calling to me. That bright blue on the front of the outfit, the way the cloak just hangs over him nice and naturally, and the better proportions plus the head sculpt, all of that together just makes him an absolute banger. I didn't want to make it look like I was hiding my No Way Home Doctor Strange. I still have him, he's in the No Way Home collection, but I have a custom V. Collectibles head sculpt on him painted by Rodman. I adore this head sculpt. And seeing him now alongside the Multiverse one, he's still taller, and that's because of the boots. The head sculpt is now physically smaller than the new one, so it completely reverses the trend of the other Doctor Strange figures. What about integrated suit Spidey from No Way Home if you decided that this was going to be your No Way Home Doctor Strange instead of the actual No Way Home version? Spidey is shorter than Strange, as he should be. At the time of filming this video, Multiverse Wanda has not released yet. So the best I could do was Scarlet Witch from WandaVision. She is a little bit shorter than Strange, I like the height difference, and I think the darker red tones on her outfit do play off the brown and red tones on Doctor Strange. If you prefer this particular look for Wanda and you wanted to pair these two up, well, this is what that looks like. And lastly, our current only version of Wong in 1/6 scale. And it's not even by Hot Toys, it's by some random third-party company. It makes it even more of a head scratcher that right now Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme in the MCU. And Kevin Feige even called it the Wong CU because he keeps on appearing absolutely everywhere. This third-party figure is serviceable for now. But one day I do want a Hot Toys one. He is shorter than Doctor Strange, and luckily this is his Multiverse of Madness outfit. So in my display, I am 100% pairing these two up. Going over articulation, I think we might ditch this, just in case it gets in our way. Starting off with Doctor Strange's head sculpt, it's on a fixed neck with a ball joint at the bottom, looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there relatively unhindered thanks to this nice soft fabric. Going forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that also hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso is pretty padded, and you have multiple layers to fight with, then the belts over the top. Going forward to there, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs also have to fight multiple layers. Going forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Ratcheted double bend at the knee going almost the full way. And then the ankles. Thank goodness for the split cut boot design. Going forward and back, they do get a little bit gappy, so you can push the top down to cover that up. Swivel, as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is I don't really love this blue patch on the back of the Cloak of Levitation. I know it's supposed to be there and I'm not complaining that it's here, I'm just complaining about the way it looks. I don't think it looks great. It's this shiny satin blue fabric and the contrasting stitching really doesn't help its cause. I think they could have done this patch just a little bit better. The second annoying thing is I kind of wish there was a magnet inside the Eye of Agamotto or it was made of metal. Because as it stands, it does tend to ride up. Unless, of course, you pop on the Cloak of Levitation, then you can use that to hold it in place. The third annoying thing is we really should be getting both options for the display base. Not just the flight pole, but also the crotch grabber. The first cool thing is we finally have a Doctor Strange with split cut boots. It only took them 1, 2, 3, 4 times to give us this. Now you can have him in a wide stance, you can tilt the ankles, and his feet will be nice and planted. The second cool thing is the additional flight pole and the accessory done in clear plastic meant to hold up the Cloak of Levitation. So finally we can display the cloak separately to Doctor Strange. We can have him walking as though the cloak is following him and he's about to grab it. There are also magnets on the front of this piece, helping keep the cloak in place. The third cool thing is we get 2 really solid Doctor Strange head sculpts. Both of these I think are displayable. My personal preference has to be this one, especially with these little strands of hair coming over the top for his fringe. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Doctor Strange based off his appearance in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This guy is a beautiful figure. Is he perfect? Honestly, maybe. There are a couple of things like the collar on the shirt and having to futz around with the Eye of Agamotto that throw me off. But everything else is just shit hot. The outfit is outstanding. It's bright, it's colourful, the chest symbol stands out. And it's different to the previous versions. So finally we're getting a proper brand new Doctor Strange, not a reissue with different accessories and an updated head sculpt. Although the head sculpts are new, and they are glorious. The likeness I think is really strong on the fringe head sculpt, a little bit less so on the third eye head sculpt, and that one I really don't want to display, but, I might every now and then just to mix it up a little bit. If you want it though, it's there, it's ready for you, and it's still a solid option. Oh, and we haven't even spoken about the accessories yet. There are a whole bunch of new accessories, and they're cross-compatible with your previous Doctor Strange figures. So if you wanted to accessory share and give some of the new ones to those older releases, then you're actually updating figures that have already been in your collection. And I'm a big fan of doing that. I like refreshing the display with new accessories on older figures. At the end of this, I'm ready to call it. This is the best Doctor Strange by Hot Toys in 6 scale. Will that change in the future when we eventually get a new one? Potentially. If they make a Supreme Strange, or even the Doctor Strange outfit from Thor Ragnarok, then maybe we'll have to revisit that question. But right now, this is my new favorite Doctor Strange in the entire collection. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their website in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.